Welcome, everyone. My name is Tim Daniels, and I am delighted again to be here with you as we're taping this. This is a beautiful, beautiful Friday afternoon as we study what God has said about our lives and His purpose for us. And we call this time Moments with the Master. You know, I love character studies in the Bible, and four of my favorite characters are Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel. These were four very young men who were basically kidnapped and taken away from their families, but they were faithful. And as a result of that, God elevated them. Because you see, God elevates those who are faithful. He elevated Joseph to be the second most powerful man in Egypt. He elevated Daniel. He elevated David so that David was the king of Israel. He elevates those who are faithful. He elevated Solomon. God loves to elevate. He elevated Gideon. He loves to lift people up and bring us up. And I want to say, if you feel like you're down in the dumps financially, emotionally, even spiritually, God is a God who elevates. And in this text today, in the book of Daniel, chapter 2, the Bible said that because of their faithfulness, God elevated Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because of their faithfulness, even in a foreign country. But I want you to know that when God elevates, Satan escalates. And when God elevated these four young men to positions of authority, to positions of influence, that Satan escalated his attack on them. And Satan and the people who were their co-workers, the people who they saw every day, those are the people that Satan used to escalate his attacks on them. And sometimes the people who will attack you the fiercest will be people who see you every day. It may be on your job. It may be people who live in your neighborhood. It may be a family member, because Satan uses people close to us to escalate. And Satan escalated his attack on these four young men, probably because of their age. They were young. Secondly, because they were foreigners. These were Jews living in Babylon. So when God elevates, Satan escalates. And if Satan is attacking you right now, and he's attacking you in different directions, and he's escalated his attack, you can smile a little bit, because that means that God is elevating you. God is taking you to a whole nother level. So when God elevates, Satan escalates. But then God does something else. God anticipates. Because when the devil escalated his attack on these four young men in the book of Daniel, and they were thrown into a furnace of fire, God anticipated that. See, anything that happens to you in life is no surprise to God. The fact that someone on your job went behind your back and said things about you, it may have been a surprise to you because that person was smiling in your face, but it's not a surprise to God. God is not surprised when Satan escalates his attacks on you. God anticipates. And I know God anticipated it because in Daniel chapter 3, when they were thrown into the fiery furnace, God was already in there with them. In fact, when they were thrown into the fiery furnace, into this furnace of fire, the fire was so hot that the men who threw them in there got burned up. The Bible said that when Nebuchadnezzar, the king who ordered them thrown in, when he looked into the fiery furnace, he saw those three young men, and the three that were thrown in were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He saw three young men walking around alive, and they had been tied up. They were loose, but he said something else. He said, I see a fourth man. I see a fourth man. And he said, it looks like the Son of God. See, God anticipated that Satan would escalate his attack on these young men after they had been elevated. So when they were thrown into the fire, Jesus was already in the fire waiting on them. And you know what? Because God anticipates, God regulates. And so God regulated the temperature of that fire so that that fire would not harm them. Listen, I want to tell you something if you're watching me right now. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. It doesn't matter what the devil throws at you. He can throw fire at you. He can throw water at you. He can throw storms at you. He can try to cause you to lose your job. He can attack your family. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Because no matter how hot the devil makes the temperature, God regulates the temperature. So, as we close, God elevates. Satan escalates. But God anticipates. And then he will regulate what is happening in your life to protect you. And lastly, in the text in Daniel chapter 3, when you come out on the other side, everyone can celebrate. In Daniel chapter 3 and verse 28, the Bible said, "Praise be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." And I want to say, if you're in a very difficult place right now, just hang on in there. God is regulating everything because he is God and he's always in control, and he always takes care of his children. Thank you very much.